another note, do you know what's coming up at the end of the month?
The end of May?
Yeah. End of May.
Yes, it's our 10-year anniversary.
10 years.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's not, it's not nothing. Why don't we talk a bit about relationships? We've been now together for a decade. That's a very long time to be with someone. And I would say that we are in a conscious partnership, and we strive to have a conscious relationship. What does that mean to you? What do you think that means?
Yeah, we're both, I guess, conscious in the sense of, we are very committed to both, first and foremost, living the best lives that we can, being the best versions of ourselves that we possibly can be.
Yeah.
We're both committed to growing in our capacity to love, to connect, and we just want to live the happiest, the best possible lives that we can.
Yeah.
And because we're both conscious and aware, going together through life, we're always trying to make things better and move in a higher direction in both of our lives. And so we're always trying to do what's best for the greater good of our relationship, for ourselves, for our family. And when we get caught up in a pattern of selfishness, ego, negativity, or whatever it is, because I think we're both committed to being conscious, we have the awareness of like, okay, no, that's something I need to work on. I need to move past this. I need to let this go. I need to, we take responsibility for ourselves and our own challenges, and are both committed to growing to be the best that we can be.
Yeah, I think that there is no other way for a long-term relationship to last. It has to become a conscious relationship. I think that in the early stages, you can get away with being in an unconscious relationship for, 5 years or so. But as the time goes on, you need to develop that awareness within the relationship, awareness of self, in order for it to be a long-term relationship, because there's no one else in the world who's going to mirror you and bring up your own shadows and trigger you in a way that your partner will, because they're in your life every single day. They see you at your best, they see you at your worst. And so I think that for me, what it means to be in a conscious relationship is, first and foremost, we are both growing as individuals independently. You have taken it upon yourself to commit yourself to your own personal growth. That means that you have the awareness to identify, is there anything that I need to work on? Is there something that is challenging me in a way that's causing pain in my life or pain in my relationship? And you've committed yourself, and I've committed myself to working on that. I don't need to push you. I don't need to torment you about these things. Like you just take it upon yourself because you are growing as a conscious individual. And for you, that is the priority, is to grow as your individual self. And so for me as well. So I think that's like the baseline, that's the premise of building that conscious relationship. And then in doing so, then you come together as two conscious individuals to create that conscious relationship. And for me, what that means is that we're not contributing to each other's suffering, that we're not trying to create traumas for the other person. We're not playing any games here. We're trying to support each other and be a partnership in this game we call life. And that's what I think a relationship is for, is to have someone that you share life's joys with, and you share life's challenges with, and you help the other person through it. You're not trying to make it harder for the other person. I think that's the attribute of an unconscious relationship, when your partner is making it harder for you to life is hard enough as it is. There's a lot of unexpected things that happen, a lot of things out of your control. And so I think that your safe place should be your relationship. And I love that we can do that for each other. It doesn't mean that it's a walk in the park. It doesn't mean that it's always perfect, that we're always, sunshine and rainbows and everything's okay. It just means that we're always committed to, if we fall off track, that we will get back on track. We don't allow things to go so off track to the point of no return, because we're conscious, we're aware of when it gets to that point.
Yeah. I mean, when you make the commitment and the decision to be with someone for the rest of your life, you like, why would you want that to be a painful experience? Why would you want there to be conflict and challenges and all of that? It's in your best interest to make things as great as it possibly can be, because It's in my best interest for you to be as happy as you can be. It's in my best interest because if you're happy, then that's going to affect me.
Absolutely.
If I'm happy, then that's going to affect you. And I think a lot of people, they can get to a really bad place in their relationship where they are so separate from each other and they're like attacking each other. And it just gets to this negative place. And it just takes one person just owning up, becoming a leader, taking responsibility and saying, no, if I focus on meeting your needs and making you happy and fulfilling you and just doing everything that I can, then that's going to come back to me. That's going to impact the relationship. The saying of happy wife, happy life applies both ways. And so I think like for me, I know that the purpose of a relationship is to amplify human experience, to amplify our lives. It just amplifies everything. And it's also an opportunity for us to grow. But the key that I recognize is that this is a place that I go to give and not get, that I need to focus on meeting your needs and supporting you and take the responsibility of that. And in doing so, it's going to make everything better. Like I need to first also focus on myself to this extent where if I'm happy, if I'm joyous, if I'm in a great state, then that's also going to impact you as well. So it's just an aspect of life that I feel that many people can neglect and just not, they kind of avoid it because there's a lot of pain in relationship at a certain point. But if you always have to consciously and proactively improve it, try to make it better, learn about relationships, learn about your partner, step up and focus on giving. Like it's just an aspect of life that as long, the more you give to it, the more you'll get from it. And you just have to take on that mindset.
Yeah, I think where we've been led astray in our culture is thinking that the relationship is about me. The relationship is a place where I get something for me. And the danger in that thinking is that, well, if the other person's thinking that too, well, you guys aren't going to get along so well. And I think that the relationship is the place where you go to give. And when you approach it with that mindset, and when you have a conscious partner who also does that too, that creates such a beautiful opportunity to create something so special where you really are now in a partnership, where you really are there to support each other's personal growth, spiritual growth. You really feel like you are in this together. And I think that's just what a lot of people want when they're single and they want a relationship. They want to spend their lives with someone because they want to spend their lives with someone. They want to share. We're social creatures. We are made to share. When we have success in something, it doesn't feel as good until we share it with someone else. And I think that the relationship is also something that you have to realize requires constant attention. And oftentimes what we do is once we do find ourselves, we work so hard to attract the person that we want, right? We put on a show, we look our best, we act our best, we are on our best manners. And, we have a few years of that. And there's that honeymoon phase. And then once you've locked that person in, maybe you've been with them for a number of years, or you've moved in with them, or you've gotten married, then you get comfortable and you get complacent and you think, well, I've already got this person. So you no longer dedicate the time that you did when you were first trying to attract this person into your life. You no longer dedicate that time into your relationship. And that's a huge mistake, because when you don't put your time resource into working on the relationship, it will die. Because what happens is we're all constantly growing on the day-to-day basis. Some people more than others, if you're really actively pursuing your personal growth. But whether you realize it or not, we're all growing based on the experiences we have today, this hour, etc. And you're either going to grow together or you're going to grow apart. And when you're not actively putting that effort into your relationship, into reflecting, okay, how did we do this week? Is there anything that bothered you? Is there anything that really, triggered you? Is there anything that I said or anything I did? And and how can I make it better, and how could I have done that differently? How can I meet your needs at levels 9s and 10s? Like, that is called being an active partner. You're really trying to put an effort into and to being a great partner in the relationship, and that takes time. And so when we neglect that, when we get comfortable, when we think that, well, I've already got this person locked down, let's focus on all these other things in life. You know, you can only do that for a certain period of time, and that's okay. Maybe you can do that for a year, but it comes a point in time when your partner's going to feel that neglect. You're both going to feel it. And if you're not conscious, if you don't have that conscious relationship, that's when a lot of relationships end, because there's just, it's the point of no return.
I'm always fascinated by how many successful people that I know, or entrepreneurs, who put so much of their time, attention, energy into growing in their business and their success and creating results in their life, but don't put even a fraction of that towards their relationship or some of these other areas of life. And I remember one person going over to their house, a successful person, and I was looking at their books at their library, and I saw all these business books and marketing books and investing books, and I'm like thinking to myself, where's all the relationship books? Where's all the health books? Like, where's all the other things? And I could see from that person, I'm like, yes, you've got great results here in your life. You've got great success, but like, look at your relationship and look at your health. Like, look at these other areas of your life. Like, do you not see that those are areas of your life that are more important than success and money and your business, etc.? And what good is all the success and the money and all of that if you don't have a great marriage, a great relationship, if you're not happy, if you don't have a great relationship with your kids? And it's basically the same thing. Like look, like, the reason why you became successful is because you focused on it so much, and you bought all these books and you read all these books and you applied all those things. Why not just do the same thing for your relationship? Why not just do the same thing for your health? Why not just do the same thing for anything else that you want? Because they take it for
granted. We take it for granted. I think that's kind of human nature. And
but
I think
if they did, though, they would have an amazing relationship. So it's like not that complex. It's just applying what you applied here in this one area of your life to all the other areas of your life.
Yeah. I think people think sometimes that a relationship is supposed to be easy. And I think that it is easy if you put the time into it. I think that our relationship is easy. And I think that one of the important factors that makes it easy is that we are compatible in more ways than, when we met each other, of course, we were attracted to each other, we fell in love, but that wasn't the deciding factor in, do we want to be together? We also factored in, okay, do we share some of the same values? Things that are really important to us in life, the big decisions in life, do we have those in common? Because if we don't, that's going to cause a lot of strife. But I think that the key thing is realizing that in order for us to get to this point of being together 10 years, it's because we put the time into it. It's easy because we commit ourselves to dedicating, okay, there's, this hour a week, or this date night, or we're going to do this relationship journal. Those little things are what make up the success of a relationship, not just because we met each other, we have some things in common, and the rest is easy. No, I think anyone who's been in a long-term relationship can attest that the relationship ebbs and flows in many ways. And, there's times where you're very attracted to your partner, and there's times where you're not. And there's times where you go through a lot of challenge and stress in life, and it causes issues in the relationship and tension. And there's times where, things are a lot easier. And that's because that's what life is. There's nothing stable about, going through your life. And to be in a relationship means learning how to navigate all of that, and to be there for your partner during those times, and to be able to support them.
I think it's easy if you understand relationships. It's very difficult if you don't. Like, if you understand the feminine nature, if you understand the masculine nature, if you understand men, if you understand women, if you understand certain principles, then it's a lot easier versus like being in the dark and not knowing and understanding. And then so many people, I see them like criticize their partner. I'm like, don't you know, like, that's one of the worst things you can do, and here's all the reasons of why you shouldn't do that. And that just like just certain patterns, behaviors, things that are just totally, it's almost like relationships, there's certain universal principles that if you apply them, you're going to have an amazing relationship, and if you don't, you're not going to have a great one. But like, nobody teaches this to people, and there's so many principles. Like, if you just read books and learned about relationships, that are applicable for
Yeah.
everything. Like there's so many, like even a simple thing is like how people I find in relationship, they try to like meet the person's need, but they're not really trying to meet the person's need. They're actually really just, they have their own need that they're projecting onto the partner. And they think that if I do this for them, then that's meeting their need, instead of thinking, no, that's my need. What's their need? What do they need?
Yeah.
And why don't I find out what that is and then meet that for them?
Yeah.
And so what happens is people say, oh, I gave them everything. I did all this for them. Like you see this in movies and stuff. Oh, I provided the house for them and I gave them money and I did this and this. It's like, but you're missing like that, like what was their need?
That's what you think
that's
that
what
they
you
needed.
think that you're doing and that you're giving. You're giving everything to them except what they really need.
And that's where the awareness comes in.
Yeah, if you understand your partners, like what are their love languages? What are their 6 human needs? What are their top values?
Yeah.
Like if you actually understand certain things, what does it take for them to feel love? What is it like? You have to, seek first to understand, then to be understood. And so when you understand your partner and you understand these principles and these dynamics that exist, it's just a total game changer. Even if you understand that when your partner reacts a certain way and has a certain response, that more often has nothing to do with you. More often it's something within them that they're suffering through. Sometimes maybe they're testing you to see if you really love them and they want reassurance. Sometimes it's, understanding how to create safety in your relationship. Like there's things that you just have to understand that are what's beneath the communication. What are the sub communication that you have with your partner, and being able to like that, it's just understanding. It's like a different language that when you understand it, it's easy. If you don't understand it, you're like, I'm listening to Chinese and you just can't get anything that's being communicated. Totally. And it just makes your life so much easier when you just know this stuff.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think like just investing a little bit of time into reading some relationship books and maybe doing a seminar and just like very basic things, like it really changes what you know, and that will change the quality of your relationships. And so we both have this foundation of knowledge about relationships, and masculine and feminine is a big thing too. Understanding those energies and the dynamics between masculine and feminine, 5 love languages. These are very these are simple principles that you don't need to, study them for years to really get a grasp on them. Very basic things that when you understand it, like a lot of people, when they communicate, they're just communicating with words. They just hear what the other person's saying. And what they don't realize is that most of communication is beyond the surface. It's beyond the words. It's the sub-communication in the physiology. It's in the small details. And a lot of times what people say is not really what they mean. And so when you realize that, like when you say something that maybe I could get offended by that, or I could be hurt by that tone, or I could be hurt by, but I realize like a lot of it is my interpretation. So is that really what the truth is? But then I also think, okay, well, what does that mean for you? Are you just saying this because, you're really stressed right now, or did something, like I'm thinking beyond just the words, because if I just take you for your word, then I'm going to be triggered. I'm going to be upset all the time. It's going to be really hard to be in relationship if we're just hearing the words.
Yeah. And if you can be in a conscious place where if your partner's upset and they're angry at you or whatever it is, and not be reactive and triggered by that, and just seeing that this is just someone who's hurting. This is someone that just needs my love. This is just someone that needs my presence. That, there's been times where, you can be in a really low place and say certain things you don't mean, but the ability just to like not take that personally and just be like a rock, to be solid in that moment and just be like, I don't care what you say. I love you no matter what. And just not being affected. And the reason is like, like for us, both of us, we know each other's intent. We know each other's heart.
Yeah.
We both know that we're, pure souls. I know the person that I love. And I know that people are not their behavior. We've all acted out and behaved and said certain things that are just not consistent with who we are. We've all had moments in our lives where like we acted in a way, then afterwards we're like, I can't believe I said that. Why did I say that? I'm embarrassed of that. Right. And so when you know who the person is that you're with, and this is just a challenge that they're going through, a stress, and you just don't take that personally, and you realize that, that will pass, and then, you understand even emotional states and how we can all act and behave in certain ways that are crazy in certain states, and then you can be in a totally different state and have a totally different interpretation of reality in that state than you did in the previous one. Like, it's useful to know these things and understand it and be conscious of these things, because then it just changes the game.
Yeah, most of what people say actually has nothing to do with you. And so that's a key thing, is to not take things personally, really learning how to not take things personally. Whether it's a comment on YouTube or it's something that your partner said, oftentimes it has more to do with them than it has to do with you, especially if it's something mean or cruel. It's really just a reflection of the state and the suffering that they're in. But I think what's important also is that we have certain boundaries that we just don't cross. So, you know, we don't threaten our relationship. We don't threaten each other with divorce or separation. You know, we just don't go there. We don't swear at each other. We don't say F you or whatever. Let's just not go there. That's just not a place that we need to go. Yes, there's times where we're really upset or really, we get emotional, but there's lines that we don't cross, and that protects the relationship. And we agree to those boundaries when we are in a place of sanity, when we can make those agreements together.
There's no excuse to ever treat anyone poorly. There's no excuse ever to criticize people, and especially to the person that you love. If you have a problem or an issue or a conflict in your relationship, then communicate to that person in a mature, evolved, developed way. You know, if you're angry, if you're upset and you can't control yourself, then exit the situation and remove yourself to put yourself in a place where you can be calm and neutral and objective and all of that. And then go to your partner and say, hey, listen, you said something to me and I reacted in this way. And, I feel like that was disrespectful towards me, or you can resolve things in a mature way, and rather than dropping yourself to such a low level where you're basically treating someone in a way that's just, you shouldn't treat anyone. Like, more people treat their relationship and the person they love the most, like if you treated a friend that way, or like other people, like you wouldn't have friends in your life. So this is the person that you're supposed to love. And and when you communicate with them in a certain way, like many people, they don't realize they're creating more issues than solutions. Like if I were to yell at you and call you mean things, whatever, that's actually only going to come back to haunt me. Like, it's going to lower your self-esteem, make you feel worse about yourself. It's going to create separation. It's going to create anger, resentment, all that. Like, it has no benefit, like, in any way. Like, we're a team. We're trying to, like, you're a part of my life. You are my life. So like, why would I make my life worse by treating the other person
you're
in this way?
unconscious, and that's the difference between being conscious and being in an unconscious relationship. An unconscious relationship causes itself all sorts of pain and suffering. It's self-induced.
Yeah, it's just so stupid. Like, it's just not an intelligent way to live your life. You're basically creating a worse life for yourself. And you just have to, if you're with someone, like, try to make, even if like there's people that are together and they're just fine, they've determined they're different people and maybe they're going to stay together for the kids or whatever, like, you still at least have to decide, okay, we're going to create a civilized, positive, dynamic relationship between us. We want to make sure we're as happy as we can be in this life and what we share. So let's just have an agreement to be civilized and mature and all that sort of stuff. But there's a lot of, childhood wounds. There's a lot of psychological issues. There's a lot of things to it. And that's where the growth comes from, is, how you are behaving in your relationship is a reflection of your psychology and your consciousness. And if you're into personal growth, you have an awareness, hey, shit, like, I got to work on myself here, because if I'm acting out in this way and behaving like this and this and this, I've got a lot of stuff that I need to improve. Well, and my relationships is bringing that out in me. It's nothing to do with them. It's just something that's triggering my fears, triggering my insecurities. And that's why I'm behaving and acting in this way. And you got to take responsibility for that and say, you know what, I've got a lot of work to do and I need to evolve and become a better person.
Yeah. And I think that that's the beauty of being in a long-term relationship, is that it creates an opportunity for some deep spiritual work. And I think that it's really important to recognize that opportunity, because it's really when you have this foundation, this trust with someone, that you can really open yourself up and you can heal each other. You can not only help them become aware of things that are from their unconscious or shadows, but you can also help in the healing of your partner. So it's a deeply spiritual experience to be in a long-term
It is.
relationship if
Yeah.
you see it that way, if you choose to see it that way. So sometimes, you know, it'll be the end of a marriage when there's, you know, childhood wounds and traumas that have been triggered and they just, you know, they can't get past that. Or you can say, oh, wow, this is the opportunity. This is my time to heal those things, to recover, to heal those emotional traumas. And in doing so, you become more whole. And when you're more whole, you now are bringing that to the relationship. And that's why it's really important that, you know, you take care of you, I take care of me. As individuals, we take personal responsibility. I'm going to do what I can to put myself in a great emotional state on the day to day. And you're going to do that too. And then when we come together, we can now come from a place where we're both, you know, up here. And it's not always going to be like that. But, you know, if you think about it, if one person's up here and they're feeling great and one person's having a really emotionally low day, well, you now can support your partner. But if you're both really low, that is going to be a very challenging day, a very challenging month, a very challenging year, a very challenging relationship. Because if you're both coming at each other from very low states, emotional states, you can't help each other. You can't bring each other up. You can only bring each other down. And that's why it's really important to do that self-care, whatever that looks like for you.
I think like, and if you don't recognize that and you just blame it on your partner, then you leave that relationship and you go to the next one, and it's going to be great for the first few years, but then eventually you're going to be in those similar patterns. You're still going to have those same issues come to the surface. And so you have to look at that as the solution is not always leaving and replacing the person, because you're taking you with you to the next relationship and every other relationship. And so I think a lot of people, they don't want to do that deep work, and they just go from relationship to relationship to the relationship, thinking that it's men or women and not looking at themselves. And even I think you attract who you are, what you are, and you have to look yourself in the mirror and make changes within yourself if you want to attract something differently in your life. Like, I take responsibility for everything that flows into my life, whether it's a negative thing. I look at myself as responsible for attracting that in some way, shape, or form. And maybe that's not true. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just coincidence. Maybe it's just unfortunate circumstance. But by me taking responsibility for it, it gives me the power and the ability to do something about it and to improve my consciousness, to increase my vibration, to take a responsibility on some level rather than just being a victim of things happening and occurring in my life. And we all know people that, you know, always have bad things happen to them, you know, like just one after the other. Like I remember, you know, car accident, and then this happens, and that, like, it's just so many things. And then we also know people that all these positive things just keep happening in their life, one after another after another. And I think that has to do with, you know, the energy that you're putting out and who you are, and the level of consciousness that you're at.
Yeah, absolutely.